Hey, what's going on, guys? Mush back at it with another video. In today's video, we're going to be covering some news. A game is being removed from Steam, a lower key title, but a game that I was a big fan of back in the day. It was kind of an underrated Japanese RPG, but for whatever reason, it is going to be removed from Steam, and it's a very cheap game, so you can check it out before it's delisted, and then, of course, it'll be yours to own forever, and then you can download it, re-download it, do whatever you want to do. But after Tuesday, September 4th, this game will no longer be available to purchase. On top of that, the Steam Link app on Android has now got a controller interface on its touchscreen, so that's kind of cool. If you want to stream games to your phone, you actually kind of have a way to play your games. Now, obviously, this isn't the optimal way to play a game, but on-screen touch controls for that app are pretty nice. This was posted over at Reddit, so I want to give that a shout. Also want to take a look at For Honor's player base. It was dwindling in player count, but after going free to own on Steam, that player base has surged all the way up, literally 40 times higher than what it used to be. So that is really cool. Hopefully some of that player base will be sustained. And then I also want to take a look at a fantastic deal on a refurbished MSI GeForce GTX 1080. I know a lot of you guys are disappointed by the RTX series pricing. You want GPUs at a cheaper price. Well, this one, a refurbished GTX 1080 under $400. That is a great deal, so more on that at the end of this video. First, let's talk about a game being removed from Steam, and that is the JRPG The Last Remnant. The Last Remnant is a pretty cool action strategy RPG. It was a Square Enix game that was actually released exclusively to the Xbox 360, so yeah, you don't typically see a lot of exclusive JRPGs that are Xbox 360 exclusives. It did later come out on PC, and while it wasn't a perfect game, I really enjoyed it. I thought it had a cool combat system. I thought the story was pretty good, and you know me, I'm a big fan of Japanese RPGs, so these kinds of games are right up my alley. One of the main issues with the game on the 360 was actually from a technical side. The game ran on the Unreal Engine 3 to be exact, and it did have some technical limitations on the 360. Those, of course, were removed on PC, and it's a much better game on PC versus the 360. The game on sale typically goes for like $2.50, and for that price, I would say The Last Remnant is absolutely worth it. Right now, you can buy it for $10. They're not running any sort of discount before the game gets delisted, which is kind of disappointing. Like, before Alan Wake was delisted, they ran a deep discount on that, where they were just pretty much giving that game away for free. Unfortunately, with The Last Remnant, it's still at $9.99. Would recommend it at that price. That's not a steep price to pay. If you're into JRPGs, check this one out. Good story, pretty cool combat, and it's gonna be delisted from Steam on September 4th, so you only have a couple more weeks to check it out. What, 10 days, 11 days? So make sure you take advantage of that. Moving on from that, the Steam Link app on Android has now just added on-screen touch control, so that is a pretty cool addition. Steam Link lets you stream your Steam games from your PC to your mobile, and I believe if you do add a third-party application, like say an emulator onto Steam, and you launch that through Steam Link, I do believe you can just stream that emulator. So this is kind of cool in the sense that you would be able to stream like a PS2 emulator and play games on your phone, add on-screen touch controls, and then you'd be good to go. Now, this is on Android only. Unfortunately, for those of you with an Apple device, an iPhone, Steam Link is not available on the iOS store. I don't believe it was approved, so that absolutely sucks. But for those of you on Android, Steam Link is a pretty cool little application. Do you want to be playing your games like this? Obviously, this is not the optimal way to game, but again, as I mentioned with emulators, that's a little cool thing you can do. You can play PS2 games with the PCSX2 emulator. You can play older games. Now, a lot of the older emulators can just run locally on your phone, so you're not incentivized much to use Steam Link to play those games, but for more recent emulators, this is a cool little addition. Moving on from that, as I mentioned a couple days ago, For Honor this weekend is free to own. The starter edition, that is. Typically, that goes for $15, I believe. Well, this weekend, you can download it, and it's yours to own forever. Guess what? This is a game that had its player base kind of dwindling a little bit. Even though Ubisoft was committed to the For Honor experience, there's an expansion on the way. The player base was still decreasing. It was around 5,000 players, but after this game went free to download and free to own, it shot up all the way to 210,000 concurrent players. Wow, I have never seen a gigantic player spike like that. That might be the biggest player spike that I've ever seen in a game. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe there have been other games that have seen a bigger spike, and obviously this has contributed to the fact that the game did go free to own. And I think there was a little bit of a novelty of the game still being a paid game, but going free to own for a limited amount of time that made a lot of people check it out, because there have been games that went from a buy-to-play model and then went free to play, and I've never seen a player surge like this. So maybe that novelty had something to do with it. I don't know, but For Honor really needed this. The issue is how much of that player base will be sustained. Obviously, I imagine they are not going to hover around even over 100,000 players concurrently. I just don't think that's possible. But if they can settle in at 30, 15, even 10,000 players, anything that's a little bit of a jump from 5,000 players, I would consider that a success. success. Because all these people that downloaded the game, they probably weren't planning on buying the game anyway, so now you have other players playing the game, they can tell their friends down the line, they're really enjoying it. Maybe they'll check out Marching Fire in the fall. More people playing your game is just better for everyone involved. And with For Honor, it'll be interesting to monitor this game over the next week. I'll keep you guys updated and see where the player count is, say, next Friday. And lastly, for those of you that are disappointed by the RTX series line of prices, bear in mind that you can still pick up the 10 series GPUs, and that's really the route you want to go if you want a mid-end GPU. The MSI GeForce GTX 1080, in fact, is available on Newegg right now. A refurbished GPU, it's $400, but there's a 10% off promo code that'll knock it down to $360. I would say that's a very good deal for a GTX 1080. I have seen new 1080s cheaper than this, but that is during when eBay is running one of those discount codes, and those are pretty random and they don't happen all too often. Look around. A 1080 for $400 is really the standard price you should be paying. $360 for a refurbished model sounds about right as well, so I would highly recommend this deal. I personally have a GTX 1080 and I do like to game at 1440p, ideally at 4K. At 4K, the 1080 does have its limitations. If you're looking to play some of the upcoming games like, say, a Shadow of the Tomb Raider at 4K, you're gonna have to dock down some of the settings, especially if you want a consistent 60 frames per second. But if you're playing at 1440p, this is an awesome GPU and nearly every game will run maxed out at really good frame rates. So that's gonna conclude this video, guys. Again, The Last Remnant is being removed from Steam. I think it's a great game. I think it's a very underrated JRPG. For those of you that like JRPGs, check it out. It's only $9.99, so I'd recommend you buy it before September 4th, and it's yours to own forever. You'll be able to delete it, re-download it, all that good stuff, but after September 4th, no longer available to purchase. The Steam Link app over on Android has now got on-screen touch controls. That's a pretty cool inclusion for that app. For Honor has gone from 5,000 concurrent players all the way to 210,000 after becoming free to own on Steam. Again, it's still available for you guys to download and own, so check it out if you haven't. It's absolutely free, so no reason not to. For those of you still trying to get a great gaming PC, an MSI GeForce GTX 1080, $360 after a promo code, that is a fantastic deal. Check it out. And that's going to conclude this video, guys. If you have a request for a future video, leave that in the comment section down below, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.